I'm Brett Ruland. I'm one of the co-owners here at Spoonful Records, downtown Columbus, Ohio. We've been around 15 years. We were originally over on Long Street downtown, and there was a lot of development happening with condos, and they needed us to get out while they were working on the building. But I think we knew once we moved it was going to be difficult to move back. We found sort of a temporary space, not too far from here. We were always kind of looking for that place that had the same feel as the original, with like the high ceilings and hardwood floors, and just felt like a place you'd want to go to every day. That original one meant a lot to me, so I was trying to find something with a similar vibe. And I think when we walked in here, we knew right away this was the place. And I think it's even better than the original. So, well, I think by trade, I'm a graphic designer. I worked for the Columbus Museum of Art for like 12 years, and I always just on the side liked working with bands and helping to release their music, design album covers. So I think I've always sort of surrounded myself with records and the artwork, on the covers of records. And I think when I was let go from the art museum, the arts, a lot of times the funding, you don't always have it there. But I did, stay there for 12 years, so I feel like it was a good run. But I wanted to do something different. You do the same thing for more than 10 years, I feel like you start to feel like kind of stuck. And so even though it was their decision for me to go, I think it was a great opportunity for me to take a chance, something I might not have done if, I just had a cushy job with like lots of vacation and everything. So, what did I do? I decided to, not get any vacation and, work all the time. So that's, be your own boss and wear all the hats, take out the trash, run the counter. But it actually was fun. When you're doing it for yourself, I feel like there's a sense of pride, and it's something you love. Some people say it's not work, and in a way it isn't. But, that comes later, the work part of it. So I was definitely, had some anxiety about it. And in fact, I remember on, the very first day, it's kind of embarrassing, but I didn't know how to operate the register. The night before, my wife Amy had programmed the register, and everything. She showed me how to use it. And then everything went, we forgot it was an old battery, and everything went away, so she didn't have time to, she had to reprogram it. She got it ready, but she didn't have time to actually show me how to use it. So opening day, that's like a fun fact. Opening day, I didn't actually know how to operate the register. It's embarrassing, but, hey, the truth hurts. But I did learn quickly thereafter, so. But, but it was a good feeling. But I also, like I said, I remembered sitting on a couch in the front. I don't think it was that couch, but people had come in, to look at the records, and I was kind of nervous that I couldn't even really look at them. Like, it just felt awkward. And I was, I didn't even know if they would want anything. It's kind of like throwing a yard sale, and you think your stuff's great, but other people might just not even talk to you and walk away. But I looked around, and people had stacks under their arms, so I felt pretty good. That was like a sigh of relief. But it made me feel good, to walk up to the store and turn the key. I think I don't know if I could go back to working for somebody else after working for myself. I think a lot of people are scared to do it, but once you take that step and you see the freedom and just the excitement, it'd be very hard to go back. I could, but I probably wouldn't have a smile on my face, so. I think one of the main reasons I had originally chosen downtown is I went to the Columbus College of Art and Design, and I thought maybe I could have a record store near that campus, and also Columbus State, because it seemed like Ohio State University had record stores, and maybe I could be a part of this community. But I also just have a love of downtown. As a kid, I would come down on the bus to Lazarus, and go to the eat at Woolworths, and go up to the record department or go to the toy department, probably more the toy department. But there was just something exciting. I feel like people almost dressed up to to go downtown or go somewhere in the old days. And I don't know, it just felt special, you know. But I know you fantasize your memories sometimes, you know, when you're looking back and everything. But there was also like the downtown Centrum roller skating rink, and in winter it became an ice skating rink, and that's where the Columbus Commons currently is. But I just had all these fond memories of downtown, and I didn't really want to be on campus, you know, like the OSU campus. Like I'd spent so much time there, but I didn't want to go back there for some reason. I just wanted to move forward and come up with a new place that I'd want to be every day. If I want to be there and I make it nice, I felt like maybe other people want to be there as well and check it out every day. So, yeah, my wife had gone to Ireland, you know, a couple years ago, and a small record store in the Dingle Peninsula area, the owner there told her that, you know, she thought for us, like the next jump might be to have some live music in the store. I'm not ready, no, I'm not. I saw you at Dairy Queen. You were sipping on a Mr. Misty. You said that you were in love. It just wasn't with me. Oh, my head is spinning, falling on the ground, and my mind is wandering, keep walking around. But my heart is open, I won't be afraid. All eyes are on me, but I'm not ready, no. I'm not ready, no. I'm not ready, no. I felt that brought the community into the store, and also brought different people that might not normally come into your store. So I think Amy got that idea in her head, decided to do every Saturday for a year and just see what it was like. And quickly, White Castle, the vice president of White Castle is into vinyl, and he comes here, and I think she just asked him, you know, hey, we're doing this series, you know, we'd like to give local musicians money and all that. So he was able to, you know, help us out there. And but it's cool because you'll come to work and you're, you know, selling records, you're playing music. Then at some point you got to change the store over and get it ready for the sessions, you know. And I think that always brings different people that like are into music, but maybe they don't collect records. So I think, and we put them on our Spoonful Sessions YouTube page, and they've been getting a lot of views. And so I think it's just another way to connect to people, and maybe people that have never been to the shop might see that and decide they want to come to the store. So I think anything you can do like that that's outside of the norm is good for business. I always think of the Beastie Boys. Like, I go to White Castle because it's the best, but I find a fat burger when I'm way out west. You know, so it seemed like White Castle was a cool sponsor to get. You know, if it's in a Beastie Boys song, you know, pretty sure that was Beasties. Yeah, and the Beasties were trying to be Run DMC when they started. So sometimes I'm like confused. Wait, is that Run DMC or Beastie? You know, but then they had to be themselves at some point. Yeah, my wife is currently the used buyer for like the past like 10 years, and people will bring stuff through the store, like maybe, you know, they're moving, or you know, somebody passed away, or they're just kind of not listening to the records, and so they want to get them back out in the world. So they'll bring them in, and we try to make a fair offer on them, and that's what we do for the used. For the new, we have some distributors that we work with, and a lot of times they'll tell you about new things you may not have heard of to try to get you excited, and something you might want to bring into your store. But we currently have a lot of rock, soul, jazz, hip hop. We've expanded our world section a little bit. Got some Japanese titles and reggae, folk. The thing about records is, like, I've realized in 15 years, like you can never know all of them or have seen all of them. There's just so many out in the world. And early, you know, back in the day, they would do a lot of like just, you know, your parrot speaking on a record, or, you know, just the most unusual things. You know, I think there was one, it was like Heartbeats of K9. You know, we don't know why that was on vinyl, but the heartbeats of the Canine Dogs was a record full of the heartbeats. So you just never know what you're gonna find in a record store. I think I think every day we get different people coming into the store and new people getting into vinyl, and sometimes people do ask, like, what should I collect? Or I feel like it's like artwork or anything, like collect what you love, collect what you're drawn to. Um, if you don't know, like if you just want to get into it and you're not quite sure, maybe go start with some of the classics, and maybe artists like Prince or Elton John, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd. These are some of the biggest artists and most popular that we sell, and Michael Jackson. And there's a reason, the Quincy Jones production on those Michael Jackson records, it just sounds so good on vinyl. It's a different experience hearing the vinyl than the digital version you may have been familiar with. I think that's what stops people in their tracks sometimes. We'll put a Fleetwood Mac Rumors album on, and they've heard it a million times on the XFM or other sources, but hearing that pure analog sound coming through the speakers, it just kind of almost gives you goosebumps, So I feel like good music and music that really like can move you, vinyl's a great way to hear it. I think, and I've seen this happen to people, like they might be with a friend who collects records and they're just here along for the ride, and I think they start looking around, and I can just see it on their face. They're like, man, I want to be a part of this, and so I think coming into the store, seeing maybe staff recommendations, or meeting a like-minded individual who you might maybe see their T-shirt and they've got a band that you like, and you guys get a conversation going. I feel like that's what the record stores were like before the internet, before other means of learning about new bands and things. I think, the guy in the record store would hand you something. Oh, you got to check this out. Or everybody needed that friend that was like on to the next thing. I wasn't necessarily the guy doing that, but throughout my life, I've met individuals that, were so, passionate about music, and they would just tell me what they were into, and, I'd just soak it up, like different styles. And I think pretty much all record store owners that I've met are just lovers of music. I mean, they're not trying to gatekeep. They're not trying to have a certain thing. Like maybe there are some more curated stores, but I feel like they love that passion that people have for music, and they want to get it to them. They're not trying to. They're disappointed if they don't have what somebody's looking for. Like the store's only so big, but we want to try to have a little bit of everything. And you can walk in and come out with something that maybe you didn't know you needed, or didn't know you wanted it until you saw it and looked at that object there in the shop. Spoonful Records is located on, we're on Instagram at just Spoonful Records, and we're on Facebook under Spoonful Records and Blue Sky. And we also have a YouTube channel, the Spoonful Sessions, on YouTube, where we've put all of the performances from this year.